Kia ora tātou te whānau. I think this is how Facebook Live works. Not sure if it's going out there. If you guys can, drop us a comment and we'll be able to see when you fellas join us. Otherwise, we'll be just talking to ourselves.
Which is also
we'll figure
exciting.
it out. Yeah, hard out. No, I've been looking forward to this yarn for a while, eh? So NFTs is obviously like a new space, and when you actually dive into the space, that's where you start seeing, who else is in that space and what they're up to, and there's lots of different places to get information and to learn. And then I started seeing just little posts or little things that you drop online, and I'll be like, oh yeah, check this is in there as well. So yeah, no, I just was looking forward to having a yarn with you about NFTs, about like how you got into it, what you look for in a project, like ways that we can keep safe. I really like what you were saying about like a starter pack, that sort of thing. So yeah, should we just start with, Kauai Koe, what's your background? Just in case you fellas didn't know, she's a badass lawyer. She's co-founder of Tuko Legacy, which I'm repping right now. Yep. I rep all the time, and she's repping it as well. And also half the other Māori and Te Tautokere are repping. And amongst other things, but she's been deep diving into the NFT space for a little bit. And I'll just let you just have a little bit of a kōrero, introduce yourself.
Sure. Kia ora e te whānau. Ai, ko Chelsea Terei tōku ingoa, he ria hau no te taitokerau. I guess as Te Rāwhitiroa said, I'm a lawyer at Tuko. That Susan and I started a fair few years ago now. I think it's just past our 5th birthday. And we also, as a part of that, started the community fund and Tuko Legacy Clothing, which all of the proceeds go back into the communities up in Kawakau and Moerewa, which is where Susan's from, and her whānau still live, and where I lived for the last 5 years. My partner is also from up there, so it was our opportunity to get back into the community and give back to the community that we love so much. We're back down in Auckland at the moment. I went to Takiura last year, and I miss being in that close community in a smaller town. I'm born and raised here in Auckland, so moving up to a small rural town, really got to see how much the community comes together, how much they know you. I never have to have money anywhere. I can always just, oh my gosh, I forgot my wallet. I'll come back and pick. Yep, no worries. Everyone calls you by your name.
Nice.
And I really enjoy that. And so my partner and I, John, have come down to Auckland for me to study last year, and we just recently went back, and I'm just like, man, I miss this town. And so I think we'll probably end up back there at some point. But that's kind of been me in the last year, been at Takiura. Doing that whole journey of reclaiming our reo.
Massive. And before we talk about NFTs, I did want to talk about that because it's been something that I've been seeing. It makes me feel awesome seeing people who are like, you're a pumping lawyer, you got your own law firm, you're running the Tuko charity on the side. You're not sitting around doing nothing, but you set aside that time and put it into, man, I want to learn my reo. Like, what was the motivation behind that?
Yeah, it's been something that I've wanted to do for a really long time, but other things always kind of got priority. You go to uni. I was pretty good at basketball when I was younger, so I played basketball really hard out and spent a lot of time balling. And then I came out of basketball and I went to uni, and then it was about establishing a career, wanting to support myself and support my family. And reo was something that I've wanted to do, but it was always the thing that got put on the back burner. And then just being in a business, working in an area of law where you work for your own people, and you see when you hear it, you're in te ao Māori all the time, you hear the reo all the time, and I never felt like a part of me was missing. It's not like that. It was more just like something that I knew that I had to get to and that my time would come. And I'm just so grateful because I have a community and a whānau around me that really supported me to do that. So it was really because Susan and I set up the business and we had the structure that enabled me to be able to do that. So I'm super grateful to have, a best friend that supported me to be able to leave the business, to be able to go and do it for a year.
Yeah, we missed you.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, it was something that was always on the to-do list, and my time finally came last year. And I'm just the kind of personality that I'm like 100. Like I want to go in there and I'll get everything that I can out of the year. I'm going to study hard, and I'm going to throw myself out there and do the best that I can. Obviously interrupted by COVID, which was pretty hard. A lot of the learning was online. So I never went back to Kura after August. So that was a bit of a shame. But in terms of everything that I could get out of it, absolutely. It was the best.
Yeah,
it was
awesome.
massive.
And when you're talking about going in 100, that's also how I figure you went into the NFT game, eh?
Yes. Yeah.
What was your intro? What was your intro?
I have always heard, probably more in the last maybe year on the periphery, little snippets of talking about Bitcoin. I hear it on the news, hear it on the radio. And I would see some of my friends talking about what they were investing in, and my ears would perk up, but it's just like the real journey. It's something that I can't quite get to. And so I would push it aside because I just know if I want to know about it, I'll just go hard out into it, and then I'll just let other things fall by the side. So I always push it off. I'm not focusing on it. I don't want to hear about it. It's interesting, but not too interesting for me.
Until you're ready, Until you're ready to deep dive, eh?
Absolutely. And then, funnily enough, it kind of aligned towards the end of Takayuta. My partner was starting to get into more like the altcoins, and starting to look into cryptocurrencies and how altcoins work, and how some of how that ecosystem operates. And he would talk to me about it all the time.
And it's a whole nother language, eh?
I had no idea what I was talking about.
Yeah.
Like that. And I don't like that. I don't like someone to talk to me and me not know what, at least like the general idea of what's happening in that conversation, or to be able to contribute. And so he would talk to me, and then I'd just be like, oh yeah, right, that's amazing. Well, let's talk about Terei now, because that's also amazing. You don't know about that, so see how that feels. But so it was actually my partner who got into it a lot more, and then I, as Takayuta was wrapping up, I just started to inquire more, ask him what do I need? But I didn't want to sound too interested, because I don't want to jam his thing. I just wanted to let him have his thing and it not be mine. And well, now it's entirely mine too. And we talk about it all the time, and it's awesome. But that was my entry. I just asked him to show me, what do I need? That's what everyone wants to know.
There's your entry point.
Where do I go to? I hear it all the time, but I don't see anyone say you need this, this, and this, and then you're away,
Yeah. So before we get into the this, and this, because I really like your idea. Chelsea, when we were setting up, Chelsea was talking about, what about a starter pack? Like, what are the things you need in order to be able to move into the space? But before we do that, I really like hearing people's interpretation. Like, what is an NFT? Why are you interested in NFTs?
Yeah, I think actually, before I really start to talk about NFTs, I just want to say that I'm very much, probably no less than some of the people that are listening, and so I don't want to come across like I think that I know everything, because I actually don't. And in fact, I wouldn't be surprised if I go to describe something and it's someone else's interpretation is entirely different to mine. So I just want to.
We're all learning together. And actually, before we go any further, this is not financial advice. This is not financial advice. In this whole space, only invest what you can afford to lose. It's a big one. Like, a lot of our whānau want to go in and dump heaps of money in there, but only do it if it's not going to affect your kai on your table or your rent or those sorts of things, and do your own research. So even though somebody might mention a project or mention something that's like it's going to pop off or it's going to moon, you'll hear that thing being said. You have to do your own research. So I just want to say that, and we're not experts. What the whole idea of this kaupapa is that we're all learning together. So just take that pressure off, Chelsea. We're just having a yarn.
I was like, I better be careful, because there might also be someone in here that does know a lot about it, which is awesome. And so my understanding is, obviously it's a non-fungible token, which I think everyone knows those words. But what is a non-fungible token?
Yeah.
My understanding is that it is a digital asset that is being used, that has been purchased using cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
And so basically, with the way that the world's going, everything's becoming digitalized, everything's going online, and an NFT is essentially an asset that is or lives as and has been purchased online.
Yeah.
And really, at the moment, most people identify NFTs as a JPEG, and that is exactly what it is, really.
Yeah, and that's where a lot of the JPEGs are. Like that's where a lot of focus is at the moment. Is people's profile pictures, photos, GIFs and stuff like that. Those are the things that are coming up at the moment.
Yes, yeah, and so that's kind of my understanding, and it's obviously it is purchased using our currency, so the New Zealand dollar, and that we go and buy the cryptocurrency that enables us to buy the JPEG or the NFT. So it's a bit of a roundabout way of doing it, but it's basically digital ownership. That's stored online, and by online I mean blockchain, but now we're really getting into the technical language.
Yeah. So and we might go into that in another quarter, or into the actual technicals of what is blockchain and things like that. But basically, NFTs, things in the metaverse and the blockchain that you can buy with real money. You have to buy crypto. Most of it's on ETH, but then there's Phantom, Ethereum. Then there's Phantom, there's Solana, there's a whole lot of other altcoins, there's a whole lot of coins and stuff that can get you into the space. But right now, like a lot of people, what's really blowing up now is this profile picture game, So can you tell us a little bit about that? Like, why does it matter if I've got an ape on my profile pic?
Unfortunately, it only matters because we believe that it matters.
Korero.
Yeah, I mean, it's at the end of the day, it's what we as a society appear to value, unfortunately, which isn't always the way to look at it. Really, is the value that we put on it. And so those that own those more expensive Bored Ape yacht clubs, those punks, those Kongs Genesis that you see, are people that have money that can afford them. So it's basically just, I guess a modern term would be a flex, to demonstrate that you have the kind of money, and also that you are in a realm, or you're in an ecosystem like NFTs, to know what that is, to go and purchase it, and then to put it up as your profile photo. All it is saying, look at me, I'm famous enough to have enough money to go and buy one of these things as my profile photo.
And so when you buy a profile photo, like, why does the value go up? So talk us through, like, finding a project. How do you look for a project, getting in for the mint, and then the demand and stuff like that. We'll go into safety and stuff later, but just sort of like, if you just started today, if you went in to look for a project, what would you be doing?
So basically, there's a number of ways that you can enter the NFT space, and to be honest, there are strategies for it, and in my opinion, one of the best ways to do it is to follow those that are already in the space and know what they are doing.
That'll be your token in the space, eh?
Because for me, like, as a new person, because there's so much going on, there's a new language that I'm still learning, and that there's a whole ecosystem that is existing that I still don't understand. Like, I'm no computer head at all. So I hear terms and it goes way over my head. I have to Google a lot of it to find out what they're talking about. So for me, in terms of how I've started and how I've found the most value in terms of finding my own feet, is actually by following others. Not necessarily in money, but definitely in terms of how to find projects and what am I looking at. So in this space, there's obviously, like on Instagram, you have your influencers, those people that show you things like, what to wear and what to buy, what's the latest thing to get. The same exists on Twitter for NFTs. There are influencers in the NFT space. Those are the ones that own the Bored Ape yacht clubs and the punks. They are the ones that generally say to you, follow this project. This project is going to be big. Many of them are owners of these bigger projects. And the best thing to do is really follow them on Twitter and just to see how interact with that particular project. So they might do things like and retweet and leave a comment, and so you interact with it and you see what happens. Actually, they've invited you into their Discord.
Yeah.
Something else that we can talk about. So then you get an invite into it, and it's really just following that project and what's happening with it. They make announcements on their Twitter, this is what we're doing. All of a sudden they might announce they've got a partnership with a drink brand or something like that. And then that's the best way for me, like in my view, the best thing to do is just to follow what other people are, or those that are influencers are suggesting that you follow. That's a safe bet for you in terms of getting started.
Yeah, so like if you're going into any space, if you're wanting to learn hunting, you best if you go with some other hunters. If you're wanting to learn how to dive, you go with some other divers, that kind of thing. So you know what to look for, you know where to look. See, I'm more active on Instagram and Facebook and things like that, and Twitter is a whole new world for me. I still got to lift that game. I think we're going live on Twitter as well with the stream. But anyway, like that's a whole new space, and actually most of the NFT gamers over there, eh?
Yeah. So basically, there's like when you are starting out in NFTs, you need two things: you need a Twitter and you need to access to Discord. And basically, those two interact and interplay with each other in a way that enables you to follow the project from the start, from the when they've got 0 community members, into the Discord, where they explain what their project is about, where they show you what their art might be, where they tell you what the utility might be, through to minting, where you would possibly be able to be on a whitelist to mint, or whether you might be minting from public, into actually owning the NFT and then either staying with the community or flipping it, like some people who are in the industry to make money. So that's kind of generally the pathway that you take when you're entering a project.
Yeah, so you don't have to get NFTs to make money. You don't have to get NFTs to flip. You might get an NFT because you like the art, you want to support the artist. You might get an NFT because you want it as your profile pic. But then at the same time, you can use it for flipping, and that's something that's going off at the moment, eh?
Yes. Oh, it's huge. It's huge. For me, I think it's just like that. You got to be real cautious. That, like, in my view, when you're starting out, it's not about trying to flip to make money or to learn to make money. It's really about learning the ecosystem, understanding how it works, what it's doing, how does it work, why does it work that particular way. That's the safest bet for you, because I think that you can kind of get really caught up in that kind of monetary side. I know that you can see people selling things for like thousands of dollars, and of course
I'm gonna get a Lambo.
We're Lambo, Of course people want a part of that, but the reality is that many of those people that are successful have a strategy and have been in the space for a long time. And if they haven't, they've been very lucky. And the chances of that happening for everyone is so minimal. So you're better to just actually enter the space wanting to learn, wanting to understand, than you are to be thinking, oh, this is the way that I'm going to make money real quick, because it doesn't work like that in my view. I mean, it might for you, but that's my personal view anyway.
Yeah, you'd be lucky if it does. And some people are lucky, but it is kind of like when you go into a new country, you got to learn a new language.
Absolutely.
You gotta learn where the locals hang out. Where's the best place to have a kai? What sort of music does everyone listen to? It's that kind of thing, when you're going into the space.
That's precisely it. Yeah, absolutely. That's a good articulation.
Awesome. And so starter pack, like I really like that idea, because this whole, or like at the moment, it's like when the internet first got invented, or when we first got cell phones, right? Before a smartphone. Even in my lifetime, my first cell phone was a brick, and now we're rocking these. Like the rate of change is so different, and technology when it's first coming out, when it's new, it can be quite hard to understand. Like, where do you buy crypto from? What type of crypto do you buy? How do you buy an NFT? Where do you buy that from? Where do you store it in? Like, tell us about your starter pack thing, your starter pack idea that you had. Like, what are some things that you need to sort this out before you can, really dive in?
Yeah, I think I was greatly aided by my partner. So John had already done all those things. So I was very fortunate because he was like, you need to do these things before you do anything else, you know? So I was really lucky in that way. And so basically, in my view, when I thought about, oh, well, you know what, when I tell Season, for example, oh, bro, you know, like this, you know, if you want to get into the space, this is what you do. I was thinking, because I get asked quite often, like, where do I start?
Yeah.
And so I guess I would say that there's two components to starting.
Yeah.
One is the actual physical setting up of the bits and pieces that you need to actually make the start. And the second is where do you start in terms of starting your research and actually joining the communities?
Yeah.
So, I mean, like in terms of starting, in terms of being able to, like when you were talking about using your New Zealand dollars to buy cryptocurrencies.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about that side of things, I personally use Binance. That's the one that I know because it's the easiest. I know that you and Richie talked about the one that they have here for New Zealanders, which is a little bit cheaper.
Easy Crypto.
Easy Crypto. Crypto.com, there's heaps of them. That, and so long as they're reputable, you know, and that you're careful about where you're buying your cryptocurrency from. There are many scam places out there. So it is good to go with the larger ones because you know that they are reputable, the Coinbases, the Binances, you know, like, because then you know that your money is safe.
Yeah.
So basically you set up just like you set up an email address, you set up a login onto whichever forum you want to use to buy your cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
And then once you're in there, you have an opportunity to be able to buy crypto. And in there, I purchased mine off my credit card. There's limits, so you can only purchase so much depending on your verification, but you can only buy so much on there. Which I mean is in my view quite good for us. Here it's not like this liberal, I'm going to go and spend thousands of dollars buying cryptocurrency. There's a limit. And then so basically what happens is in Binance, you can only really buy the major currencies, major cryptocurrencies. So you can only usually buy, you know, the Bitcoins and the Ethereums. You can't even buy Solana direct with New Zealand dollars. Well, I can't.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah. Cheers, Richie.
So in those instances, I buy USDT. So you buy the American dollar that's going to buy you the altcoin that you might be looking for.
Yeah.
And so that's the way to get yourself into the interface that's actually going to buy you the crypto. The reason why I personally like Binance too is that it acts as a wallet. So I mean, it's not the ultimate safe, but it is safe enough for you to keep lower sums of your money on there.
Yeah. And that's what people call a hot wallet. So there's hot wallets that are online, like over there in the exchange. And then there's cold wallets, which will be like a little USB thing that holds the keys that you can unplug from the internet. So Binance is a hot wallet.
And Binance is a hot wallet. So, like as many of you guys would have heard last week, you know, there's obviously a level of volatility with hot wallets. It is stored online. So that means it's open to scammers and hackers. That's why, you know, you kind of wanted to go through all the steps of verification and trying to make sure that your Binance or your crypto.com is secure. So you've got to go through a lot of identification things.
Yeah.
And then once you're in there and you've gone and you've bought your ETH or you've bought your USDT and then you've transferred or converted it into Solana, or like I've been buying a little bit of sand, then you will want to set up your wallet that takes you into the marketplace or into the interface that you will be buying your NFT on. So I mostly do Ethereum, the Ethereum work, the interface. So that means I need a MetaMask wallet. If you wanted to buy Solana, that's a Phantom wallet. If you wanted to go into the one
PaintSwap, you need a Phantom Opera wallet, and PaintSwap.
Yeah, so there's a different, just so everyone's aware, there's a different type of wallet that holds whatever your coin is for that particular marketplace. So don't think that, it's not like I've got all my currencies in one wallet and I'm going to go and shop on OpenSea, which is Ethereum, or I'm going to go and shop on Magic Eden, which is Solana. You have to actually put it in the different wallet that connects to the different marketplaces.
Yeah, and I think of that like if I'm going to go to France, I have to use the franc. If I'm going to go to Mexico, I got to use a peso. You'll have your different currency for those different places online, eh?
Yes, that's exactly what it is. I mean, I think that, even just saying it out loud, I know that that's a lot for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And so, you're like, oh, I've only been on the call for like 5 minutes, and then all of it, I'm lost already.
Yeah.
And to be honest, that was me. Like, I was very lucky to have someone that was in the house that could be like,
Me
click
too.
the button,
Yeah.
hey, now click here, like, and just did it for me. So there are a ton of YouTube videos. You can Google it. How do I transfer money from my Binance to my MetaMask wallet, or how do I, transfer money here? Short of even just messaging us, and I've got like a little cut and paste in one of my notes that I just send out to people when they ask me how do they do something on these different networks, because I know it's a lot, and it gets a little bit kind of full on. So and the thing is that if you make a mistake, you can lose all your money.
Yes.
So you need to be very sure and very careful about what you are doing. Like the first transaction I did, I think I did like $1.20, like whatever the minimum was that would let me do it.
Yeah.
I went through and I did the practice all the way with like $1.50, I think that it was, because if you lose it, and this has happened to Jan, he's gone to send me something and he has sent it to the wrong address and it's been lost.
Yeah, I did that as well early on, because from my MetaMask, so I was exchanging one coin for another. So I was exchanging Ethereum for another coin for one of the tokens. Anyway, I did that, and then my MetaMask said, "Oh, there's a new address. Do you want to save it?" And I thought it was my address, so I wrote my name, my account name in it. Anyway, about 4 days later, I wanted to shift putea from one account into another account, my accounts. And then so when I went to send it, I thought, oh yeah, that's my account. I clicked it, sent it, put the transaction through, and I was like, why is it not showing up? And it was like $400. I was like, hey, like, where is this money? Like, chased, and then like searched the wallet, and it was gone. I had sent it to some exchange. It wasn't even a person's wallet. Like, if it was a person's wallet, they might be nice and send it back, but it went to like a robot, and so it was all just gone.
Yeah.
So that's a real thing. Like, really be sure on what you're doing, and especially with like cold wallets, they'll make you verify every transaction. So you want to make sure you're sending to the right place. You're doing the right thing, because once it's gone, and blockchain is forever. So once it's on the blockchain, so if all transactions are on the blockchain, can you not retrieve the transaction? No. Once the transaction is made, it's permanent. So like I said, if I'd sent it to a person, they could send it back. Like they could be nice and go, oh yeah, you made a mistake. So yeah, I'll send it back to you. But yeah, so it's something that we really need to just be sure of when you're doing it, and be careful. It's not something that you want to rush into, eh?
No, and like it's the thing about it too is that it's decentralized. So, and I think that a lot of people are very charmed by the idea of it being decentralized. So basically, it just means that we all govern it together. And it's this great idea where there's no the government doesn't get involved, and so it's just the people that use it that govern the space amongst us. And I know that people like that idea, because it feels like, it's by the people for the people type idea. But the issue is that when things go wrong like that, there's no one that you can go and complain to. There's no central body that you kind of go to, and I'm like, like,
I want a refund.
Can you fix it? There's none of that. So, when you're coming into the space, just be very aware that it's every man out for themselves, really. And so that's why it's really important. Like, that's why I wanted to do this kōrero with you too, because it is like that. But in my view, it doesn't have to be for those of us that are a community, especially like, our tangata Māori. Like, we can do these things together, wānanga amongst us, like that Discord that you set up. in my view, that would be a great space for us to, like a safe space for us to be like, make sure that everyone's kind of doing what they need to do and staying safe and protecting themselves. And if they're not sure, then they can ask. Because we need those spaces where people do know what they're doing, and that other people that don't know can come.
Yeah, and that's kind of so. What Chelsea's talking about is set up a Discord, Te Moana Nui or crypto navigators, for us to find our way and navigate in this Moana Nui, so we can find our new Hawaii. Anyway, it's a space where I was wanting to bring in people like Chelsea, like Richie, there's heaps of people already in the space, already a few steps ahead of us, so that we can all learn and grow and upskill together. So I'll check out some links for that Discord. So you guys, any of you guys that are in the Discord, you can jump in. I'll do that afterwards because I can't multitask. I'm just learning this thing. But that's the thing. Learning together, and growing together means you can share. Oh man, I did this. I lost a whole lot of money. Don't do this. Or like, this is the place where I buy it.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, I think too, like in like another part of it as well, which kind of ties into my personal feelings of being cautious about what I personally say about the space, because only I'm responsible for what I do, and they're going to have impacts on me. But I'm always very cautious about what I say to other people, because I don't want it to influence them into doing something that they think, oh well, it's all good for her, so it'll be okay for me. And so I think that there comes an element of personal responsibility, that when you are engaging in this space, it's one thing for you to be engaging in it and doing what you're going to do, because only you're responsible for yourself. But when you're starting to talk about it and start to being open about it, and potentially encouraging people to get into it, which is, and it isn't a place where there is a lot of opportunity, that you've got to be really careful about how you are encouraging people to start interacting, because it's just, there's just so much that can go wrong in the space, and it's actually a very volatile space, where if you are not careful, that you can really get yourself into a bit of a bind, that there is nothing and no one that can help you once you get into that space. So I'm just mindful of that, and I just want people to know that, to just be cautious of the amount that you tell others, like, oh, this thing's amazing. That it's, and I mean, I know that it's on the person to go and do their own research and to interact as they wish, but I know that some people too are looking for an in, and so that's why I want to help. That's why it would be great. It's good to talk about it too, and to try and keep like the airwaves open in regards to it as well. Yeah,
and we always like you said, there are big risks in the space, because it is it's the whole world. It's not just you're not in a marketplace down the road where you can go and see that person next week or whatever. So there is risk in that way, but also, like, because it is new, we're not financial advisors. Say that again, we are not financial advisors. This isn't financial advice, and on anything we say, you do have to do your own research. So cross-reference everything, even in places like the Discord. So I've just posted up the Discord link in the chat if you guys want to grab it. But even in the Discord, you have to be careful if people are sending links. You have to be careful what you click. I only click ones from my actual friends that I know in real life. Those are the only links that I'll click and go to, even if they're sending you, hey, watch this YouTube video or something like that. Like, you do have to be aware, and you do have to be careful in that way.
Oh my gosh, that's the kind of the dark side of things. And I think that we don't talk about it enough, or I don't see it, I'm not talking about us, but like in terms of the space as a whole. You don't see that as kind of lit up as much as I think that it probably should be, that people are warned about how much of a volatile space it is. It's not just in regards to money, it's in regards to, like, it's just because, like, for me, as I said, like, I'm no computer expert at all. So I don't know what I'm clicking on, and there are so many scams, so many rug pulls, so many hackers. And because for me, I just think of myself as if I'm in their domain. Like, I'm like at the bottom of the food chain, man. So I'm and if you're going to be putting your own hard work money into it,
Yeah.
You know, you're taking it into their domain where hackers and scammers are on their computers.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, like I know in a group that I'm in, I know a guy who got his whole wallet swept out because he thought that he was connecting onto a safe site that was sent to him from his brother. And in between it sending from his brother to him, it got pulled and it got manipulated and then sent on to him. He entered his seed phrase into it, thinking it was for his two identifications, and his whole wallet, along with like almost like 50 grand worth of money, got pulled out of his wallet. This is like just last week, and that story happens all the time. So that's the kind of the side that you kind of like have to be so cautious of. I've seen in the comments someone saying that they sweat every single time they send like money.
Yeah, my heart pulses. Yeah.
Exactly
And so let's dig a little bit deeper into that safety thing. So one, your not your keys, not your crypto. So there's a thing that Chelsea just mentioned, which is a seed phrase, or your secret key. It'll be a combination of like 12 to 24 words, random words. That is how you get into your wallet. Like that's the only way to get into your wallet. So if you forget all of those, or like you'll have your PIN number, but if that gets blocked out, then you need those 24 words to get in. If you don't have that number, then you can't get into your wallet. Also, that's the number that the scammers want, so they can get into your wallet and get everything. So basically, no one should ever ask you for your seed phrase, and you should never give out your seed phrase. Your seed phrase is something that you should keep to yourself, and keep in a safe place. So that's a really big thing. Like, what are some other like key safety things that you reckon, Chelsea?
Yeah, I mean, like that's definitely one of them. Like, see, I would have thought too, this is how naive I am about the space, right? Like I thought, oh well, I'll take a photo of my seed phrase so I've got it on my phone so that if I lose it, because you know they tell you to write it down.
Yeah.
So that if I lose it, it'll just be saved on my phone. And like I would have got so many people that would have thought that I was like, they were like, that's a really bad idea to hold it onto your phone, because you know, and I didn't have any idea that my phone can actually be accessed by all the scammers and the hackers that we talk about can be accessed, because I connect my phone into my computer that takes it online, and I just a little thing will come up, and if I'm in a rush, I'll just click the OK button. I won't even read it.
Yeah.
So you know,
and you
like
could have just given permission for someone to go in and
don't have any idea what I've clicked onto, and I'm very careless in that way. So I like for things like that, like with your seed phrase, they tell you to write it down, not to share it ever, and like they literally mean to write it down and not to share it ever, or to put it in a safe place. So that's a really important part around safety. I think that safety kind of when you're talking about if you're holding cryptocurrencies, to put it onto a ledger or a Trezor, a cold wallet. Pull it offline, because I know that there's been people who have had their wallet swiped overnight because they've left their wallets online and they've forgotten to make sure that whenever you connect your wallet, that you disconnect your wallet every single time. Lock your wallet. Don't ever go offline or close your computer without locking it. And also too, making sure that I can't remember what the name of it is, but you can go onto a site which I will find and I'll post about. And what you can do is you can disconnect every single thing that you've ever connected your wallet to. You can go through and you can disconnect it all on the one site, and it just shows you in spaces where you might have thought that you disconnected but you didn't. Any collab land that you might have connected to get into a project, and it will just take you straight off. So definitely safety around how you are interacting with your own wallet, and the sites that you are jumping onto. But most importantly, considering getting a cold wallet. Absolutely. Definitely. Even if it's only just not a lot of, it might not only be a lot of money to begin with, but you know, it's better to know how to be safe in the event that you do start to add to your investment than it is to do it the other way around, or have a bad experience and then decide to do it, you know?
Yeah. And so a wallet, like a Ledger wallet, they're not super expensive, but they're not super cheap. They're like $150. But $150, if you're going to invest a couple of thousand into that space, you know, like work it out. Would you rather pay $150 or lose, you know, a couple of thousand? And plus, like you said, you might buy an NFT that suddenly hikes in value, and suddenly your $1,000 that you put in suddenly is now worth 50,000. You definitely want it locked up on a cold wallet, eh?
Yeah, absolutely. And I just think too, like just in terms of overall, as you just said, it's just a safer option. It does take it just takes that kind of concern away from it.
Yeah.
I mean, and like another thing that people might consider doing is setting up. So I have a hot wallet in my MetaMask, and then I have another minting wallet that I transfer funds into. And if I'm going to mint off a website, I transfer funds into that minting wallet, and then I will purchase out of that hot wallet, so that if anything happens, it's not connected to my. So I've still got a few NFTs and a little bit of ETH in my wallet that I keep in my hot wallet.
Yeah.
For accessibility. But if a mint comes up and I want to mint, I just transfer it into my minting wallet, which is basically, they call them burner wallets. And then I mint off that, so that, you know, if by any chance it's a scam or anything like that, everything is lost.
Yeah, you're limiting your losses. So even if, so you might have minted 3 NFTs off this latest collection, and if someone gets it, they get those 3 NFTs and however many phantoms or ETH that you put in there, rather than getting access to your whole collection.
Yeah, I mean, it's not ideal and it's a bit fiddly, but when you're starting to get more into the game and more into it and investing more, you do everything that you can to ensure that, you know, you're keeping it safe and that, you know, you're careful about what you do. And like this is actually said quite often in the space as well, is to always ensure that you're only using the official links. Most people go through Twitter or through the Discord on the official links. But man, you will get a million scam messages into your Discord if you have your DMs on. You know, minting 2 hours early, click this link. That is just, those are the situations that you hear about where those particular situations don't go the best.
Yeah, and the other one was like one time, so I Google searched OpenSea, which is one place where you can buy and sell NFTs. I Google searched OpenSea, and the official OpenSea is OpenSea.io, I think it is. But anyway, there was another pretend OpenSea site up the top, and when it said connect your wallet, because you have to connect your wallet to OpenSea, but you don't have to put in your seed phrase. But anyway, this time it said, oh, having trouble connecting. Can you put in your seed phrase? And I was like, oh shit. I looked at it. I was like, that's not the real OpenSea site. So this was a scam site. Looks exactly the same. They'd copied it exactly, except they were asking me for my seed phrase. So you have to be really
Very
careful with that. Yeah. I just want to also, I've just chucked into the comments, ledger.com, but also Easy Crypto. So that's that New Zealand website. We're not sponsored by anyone. If someone wants to sponsor this korero, then sweet, hit me up. But we're not sponsored by anyone. I'm just saying what I've done. So I've bought a Ledger Nano X because it has the ability to hold like multiple different currencies, multiple different coins and stuff like that. But I bought mine from ledger.com because Easy Crypto had run out at that stage, but you can buy them from easycrypto.com, and they've got another one called a Trezor. You have to do your own research and figure out which one's best for you. I've got mates that use the other one and mates that use the Ledger, but anyway, there's a link there and you can start your research there. Have a look at what cold wallet you're using. Cool. Okay, so any other like safety things? That's a big thing, eh? Like if we're gonna dive into space, then we wanna know we're safe.
Yeah, I mean, like there's you learn as you go. It's not really said to put anyone off. Absolutely, it is a lot. Like I've seen in the comments, it's a lot. Yeah, it is, unfortunately. But that's a part. That's part and parcel of that decentralized system. So there's a lot of responsibility on you to do what you need to do to ensure that you're navigating the space safely. And there's plenty of people in the space to help you do that. You know, what do you recommend that I do? You could ask, like, go into the space. Or even if you Google what's the difference between a Ledger and a Trezor in terms of the cold wallets, A million articles. There's lots of
YouTube
people
videos where people like compare the features of each, why you would get this, pros and cons. That's exactly what I did. I like YouTube. So that's definitely something to look at in your starter pack, eh?
Oh, absolutely. I think that in my mind, as the starter pack should always start from safety first, so that you're protecting yourself, and then you're going forward knowing that you've got everything that you can in place to ensure that you're safe in the space. Especially like if you're like me, who don't I'm not particularly diligent when it comes to being on the computer and things like that. That you do everything that you can to ensure that
keep
you
yourself
are
safe, eh?
because it's just it's a huge space, and and if you don't know, even like I know that I'm not doing everything that I can too, because I know that even more security exists.
We can always learn.
What you can, absolutely, always learning.
Okay. And so what other things would be in your starter pack? So there's the Binance, there's a place where you can convert, so Binance or Easy Crypto, places where you can put fiat money, New Zealand dollar, whatever dollar, into crypto. And then you need to get a MetaMask wallet if you're going to play in ETH, or you need the wallet of whatever that type of blockchain is. We've talked about cold wallets, which are important. Like can't stress that enough. Like they say, not your keys, not your crypto. Because if you don't have it on your keys, and you can pull a cold wallet out, keep it in a safe, keep it hidden somewhere, and that's the only real way that you can guarantee that no one's going to steal your stuff. What other things would you have in your starter pack, or like what are the things that we need to think about?
I'd start to think about how to actually engage in this space.
So that's Twitter and Discord.
So you need a Twitter, which I didn't have a Twitter before I started in the space.
Neither.
I'm not on my Twitter really, me personally, like I don't put any of like my own personal posts or anything up, but it's a key component to interacting with projects. So a lot of the projects start out on Twitter before they have a Discord. They'll start out on Twitter, and they'll start to grow their community on Twitter. So you'll see people liking and commenting and retweeting about projects, and that's the place where you join the community and you see announcements and updates and things like that. A lot of the time they're offering whitelists, which means that you can mint without having to worry about someone else taking your spot. You're guaranteed an opportunity to be a part of that project. So
whitelist is kind of like the VIP section. You get to come into the shop first to buy whatever you want first before they open the doors to public, eh? That's kind of where I think about it anyway.
Absolutely. That's a great description of what it is, as well as sometimes you get benefits from it. So you might get more mints than others. So if you're on the whitelist, you might be able to mint 3, whereas those that are on public have to fight it out for 2 or maybe even 1 per wallet. Or you might get a reduced price. So some might be minting for 0.5 ETH and you might get it for 0.4, So there's advantages of being early in the projects that you decide to follow. And then what eventually happens is they take their Twitter presence into a Discord. And I had no idea what a Discord was before I joined.
I was like, blub, 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 blub.
That was totally
couldn't understand anything.
What's the space? I have a friend who joined the space at the same time as me, and her daughter uses it for her friends. Her daughter's only like 8 or 9 years old, and she's like,
Mum, it's easy.
So I was like, oh my gosh, okay, so it can't be that hard, but it was so hard to understand. So basically you have your Twitter, and then they take their community into a Discord, and all a Discord is really is a chat. It's a community where you just basically come off and you just go into there, and all the members that are part of there in their own chat group. So if you are on Facebook Messenger and you got your own group in there, that's what the Discord is. And the Discord is just an app. It's a Viber, a WhatsApp. That's what Discord is.
What it does, though, is that with different hashtags, it can kind of make different streams of conversation. So you guys who have jumped into the Te Moana Nui or Crypto Navigators space, you'll see there's a channel for mihi mihi, there's a channel for kōrero, there's a channel for tikanga guidelines in the space. We've got ahurea, like what culture do we want to create in the space, safety. I've seen lots of Discords that have, well, my bro Zane over in the States, Upsalaga fellow that I met over there at the Crow Fair, actually, he's been my tuakana in this space, and I've been learning from him, and he invited me into his Discord, and that's where I kind of saw the setup. Okay, over here, if you want to talk about Bitcoin, over here, if you want to talk about altcoin, over here, if you want to talk about meme coins, over here, if you want to talk about NFTs. And that means if you go in, you don't have to look at, have you ever been into a group chat and then you get in late and you have to scroll through 50 messages or whatever? It's quite hard. So this way you can go, okay, I just want to go for Bitcoin. I want to learn about the Bitcoin things or have a conversation about that. Then you can go into that thing. So that's kind of what I get about Discord. It can kind of, set up conversations like that.
Yeah, there's definitely, I think its purpose is to take the community away from that more public platform and try to build, to the extent that it's possible, a genuine community that interacts with each other on different things that have to do with the space. It can be it's a very interesting space. And you basically meet, like, there's people from all over the world in there. And as you said, you can talk about, there's people that are talking about the latest project that might come out. That's another way. You just start on another rabbit hole and you start going, this person starts talking about another project. Oh, you go on their Twitter and you start off. But it's also just an opportunity to talk about that project. So that's actually where you will find that the people that are behind the project that you have entered into are in there, and they talk to their community and they tell them why you should be a part of that project and what value that they're offering you. So when you get into the Discord, that's the best opportunity that you have to interact with the devs, with the developers of the project, with the people that moderate the project, to talk about what is this thing and why should I invest in this project. And it's a more closer and more intimate relationship that you have with those people that are actually running it. That would be how I would describe Discord. That's
cool. So that's another that's another tool in our starter pack. So get a Discord account, Twitter, like those are the places where you're going to see the community, where you're going to be able to talk to people, the people leading the projects, the people following the projects, and that's where projects get promoted. So we've talked about wallets, we've talked about ways to connect with the community. Anything else in the starter pack that you're talking about?
I would just 100% know how to research in my starter pack. I think that researching is a huge part of really entering the space. I don't think you should really, I don't think that you should enter the space without knowing at least how to do it. I've been terrible a couple of times of not even done any research and just done it because I had a mate that was doing it too.
Break the first tikanga, do your own research.
Broke my own, and I paid for it. But there are definitely just at least knowing what to look for. So, for example, you would go onto the Twitter and you would see how many followers they have in their community. That's like one of the first things that you should look for.
Are they legit?
Are they legit? And then how do you know if they're legit? Well, generally, they'll have 5,000 plus members on their Twitter. If they're just growing, then just join the project and go as they organically grow. Then just keep watching it as it gets closer to the mint. If the numbers still stay below 100 or, some of them below 50,
it's not going anywhere.
It's not going to go anywhere. But all of a sudden, if they've got 5,000, 10,000 Twitter members, that people have become interested in what they're doing. So they've joined that community. Another one is to look at the comments on their posts. So people will always like and retweet the competitions that they have. People will always enter it if they're interested in the project. And so and also look in the comments. So I have been in a couple of projects where basically there were two people that were hyping up the same project and they were putting a whole lot of comments on in the comments. So it looked like they had a lot of people.
Like there was 30 comments there, but they need the same two people.
And there's just two people on there. So that's a legit thing. I'm like, man, that would take so much effort to have only two people saying, kia ora, kia ora, kia ora, kia ora, all the way down like 30 messages. But what that looks like to someone that's quickly doing a bit of research,
just scanning,
heaps of people interacting, that's got 30 comments, I'm sweet.
Yeah.
And then another thing to do is to go into the Discord and see how much people are actually in that community talking.
And actually, is it legit conversation, or are they just like, man, this is going to the moon, man, this is going to the moon, yo, what's up, we're going? So there's robots, there's bots that go in that are just trying to create that sentiment, but that are also just filling up the chat.
A lot of that, you just
looking
want
for
to know that
genuine.
there's genuine interaction, because genuine interaction means that there's people that are interested in the project. You know,
That
you go
actually
in there
care,
and there's people having conversations with each other, and you're like, okay, yeah, sweet. And you can see how many people are in the Discord when you're in there.
Yeah.
And then you know too that actually there is organic growth, and there is a community behind it. Because really, when it comes down to choosing good projects, it's the ones that have a community behind it.
Yeah.
Like, you know, 90% of the time, it's those that have a community behind it, because the community believe in the project. So you're just with everyone else, and that's kind of your little a little indication to yourself, or your little signal that says, I'm in a good place because the community is good. So I'm going to get out of this project what the devs are telling me that I'm going to get, and that's a good piece. That's a good sign.
And you're also looking at things like people will hear roadmap, like what's the roadmap for the project. There might be a mean pumping community, and people might be like heaps of chatting, but the roadmap is nothing. That means all the money is just going in. The developers will get it, and then leaders, and that's what's called a rug pull, or when people get rugged. Like that's something to look at. So it's to also look at what's the utility, like what can you use this NFT for? Is it just a nice piece of art? And that's cool. That might be, you know, some projects it's just a piece of art, but some of them it might get you access to a Discord. I know one that you and I talked about. When I bought it, it allowed me into this Discord where I could hear all these tuakana in the space talking about, oh, what's the next hot thing. And basically, when we're talking about, you know, the number of people in a community, it also comes down to, if you're buying it for investment, it all comes down to supply and demand. If you've got 50,000 people in a Discord and there's 7,000 pieces of art, 7,000 NFTs, then only 7 of that 50,000 are going to be able to buy them. That means once you've bought them, but there's 50,000 people who want them, then you'll be able to resell because there's a market there. There's demand there. If there's only 100 people in the Discord or 100 people following on Twitter, and you buy a piece, you're expecting, and there's 7,000, like those people have to buy a whole lot of pieces to even get anything. So you're not going to get any like resale. You know, they're not going to want it afterwards. So those are all really important things. What else do you look at when you're researching? Like, what are the things you kind of checklist off?
Always, I generally try to go and see whether the team has revealed themselves. So they call it doxing. I think it's a good sign that when they dox themselves, because it means that that you can follow who they are. You can look up to see whether they are who they say that they are. I mean,
a real person?
anonymity is huge on the internet. You know, people love the idea of not being able to be identified for who they actually are.
Yeah.
But in my view, when you're in a project where people are going to spend, you know, potentially thousands and thousands of dollars, knowing who you are in this world is really important. It creates an element of trust in the project and in the people. So I definitely look to see whether the team is doxed, whether they have shown who they are as people. It gives you the opportunity to go and look on their Instagram or their Facebook or their LinkedIn to see whether they are a marketing expert. And not the
have they got the skills they're talking about, or are they just saying NFT guru?
Yeah,
and
you can do that, and that's the thing. That's the thing about the space, is that you can be whoever you want to be.
Yeah.
So I definitely look to see if they're docs. I also kind of like, as you just said, with like the roadmap. Look at the roadmap, see what their plans are. For me personally, I always look to see what the utility is, depending on how you're interacting with the space. Like, some things I buy because I just love what it is. I don't need the utility is the piece of art that I'm going to get.
Yeah.
And I have probably a handful of things like that I just like to have. But others, in terms of utility, when I buy this NFT, what am I going to get out of it? And what kind of benefits will I receive by owning it? And generally, if there's good utility, the project will go off because people will want that utility for them as well.
Yeah, and some utility is like you'll get into exclusive parties. Other utility, like Gary V, who's one of the big tohunga in this space, you know, he's talking about some of his NFTs. If you buy his NFT, then you can go to any of his speaking you know, any of his speeches or any of his events forever. Like if you hold that NFT, that's your ticket in, and that's pretty mean utility, eh? Like what are some of the other things you've seen in terms of utility?
Yeah, there is no end. In fact, my view is that they're getting more innovative in regards to utility. I think that many people are like want to know, not necessarily that they're going to get utility straight away, but there's like continuous utility, that there's always going to be something of value for you and that's kind of what I'm seeing more, that they generate more. But I've seen things like, well, so you get like kind of the old school ones where there's over 1 billion gamers in the world, right? It's just like sports, so esports.
It's huge.
NFT is huge. So a lot of the utility that you see is actually in play to earn games. So for those people that play your Fortnite or your Grand Theft Auto, it's playing being able to play the game, and then you might yield a token within the game that enables you to buy better car parts or a better
hat or different t-shirt or
different t-shirt, different weapon for your game or whatever. And if you don't get if you aren't able to yield the token, then you can go and buy the token on a sushi swap or whatever, which pours more money into the ecosystem. So there's that kind of utility that you see in play to earn games. You have like different types of staking games where you can stake your NFT, which basically means you can't sell it. And it's staked, and so that's basically held in their staking forum, and then that enables them to be able to produce you with other utility by the fact that you've staked it. You might get other things like other NFTs for staking. You might yield a token that, for so long as you've got it staked, then you might get so many tokens per day, and then that token can buy you another NFT within their ecosystem.
So those are all kind of good reasons to hold, to buy and to hold something. So another one utility I've seen, so say if you're holding the first drop of a project, say they've released 1,000 or whatever, and if you hold one of those, then you automatically get into the whitelist for the second drop or things like that. You might get access. That's a big way that we've seen utility.
Absolutely. And so they don't, in the space, they're quite careful because of the way that the states do their taxes around saying that something is a security or is a passive income. So they don't ever use those terms. No. And you'll see interesting language around how they skirt around it. But for all intents and purposes, it is passive income. And there are many, many projects out there where you can yield passive income through these tokens. And that's actually why, for some people who want to get into the space that are looking for, it might not be a heck of a lot. Some of them are a lot of passive income though, but it might just be, $50 a day or something like that, which you will get in a token within their ecosystem. But what you do is you take that token and then you go and swap it in something that is similar to a Binance, and then you will get, use fiat money back, your New Zealand dollar back. You can swap it for New Zealand dollars. And it's those opportunities that I think that people see, and they're like, so I buy this JPEG and then all of a sudden I get $50.
I'm earning money.
And
I think I remember Richie talking about something about one of the ape type things, and then you earn bananas, and then you go and sell those bananas. You can swap the bananas for actual currency, actual tokens.
That's the Genesis Kongs, So when they first came out, that you could yield 10 bananas a day, and I think that one banana at its peak was worth $60 American. Wow! So that's 600 American dollars
just for holding this NFT. So so the utility of these things is endless, and that's one thing that you look at when you're researching a project to get into,
Yes, and the other thing too is that it's not immediately clear that that's what their plan is. I mean, there is a lot of buy into the project. We're going to take you to the moon, but you don't know what that moonshot might be. So you might not know what all of the roadmap might be. But there will be things in there that will signal to you that they're worth buying into. The team will be doxed. There will be a huge community behind it. There are people in the space who are very reputable and very well known. When you've got the community saying, I will back this guy, he's done this project before and it did so well. Those are all indicators that when they say, we've got utility for you down the road, trust in the process type thing, that you do. you do trust in the process. And they're getting more creative. There's one where they're doing a donut shop, like a donut franchise over in America. You own an NFT and you get like free donuts for your life so long as you have an NFT.
If you can show that NFT as yours.
It is, and then there's psychology. There's like one that's like particularly around mental health. So if you buy the NFT, then you get free counseling sessions. There's all sorts, and I think that's what's interesting in the space. So like more pertinently now is I've seen Nike, Adidas, McDonald's, and then the more higher fashion brands, Gucci, Prada, start to come into the space. And they're wanting to have a foothold in the space to understand, because they know that as
this is where it's going,
being corralled into this space, there's no longer the same amount of interest in kind of the tangible things that we have in real life. I'm not saying that it's going to take over, but it's just it might become equally as interesting to people.
Yeah, it is a space that is coming, and the bro Roy. What's the point? Yeah, so the point is that this is a space where people are putting their attention. This is a space where people want to show, like if I think of someone who's a shoe collector, they might have the OG Jordans or something in their house. They want to show their mates, oh, look, I got the OG Jordans. Like you were saying before, it might be a flex. Like I got the OG Jordans and nobody else has, that sort of thing. In the metaverse, we're going to be able to, in time, again, referencing Ready Player One, like that's a dystopian version, and let's hope we don't go there. But anyway, what you can see is that they go into this metaverse, into the oasis, and in there you can look however you want, you can wear however you want, and all of these things that Chelsea was saying you can earn or you can buy are things that you can put onto your character, just like when you play Fortnite or Call of Duty or things like that. You can get different skins, and that's kind of where some of these things are going. So like what I want to see is, when we do go into that space, I want to be able to get a tangata Māori, like a Maui avatar. So I want to be Maui in that space, and maybe one of the NFTs is you can get a taiahawa tefa carved by one of our OG carvers or something like that. That's kind of exciting in there. And then so whenever you're in that space, you're using those things or you're flexing those pair of Jordans. I mean, that's why Nike and Adidas and stuff are going in there, and they're setting up NFT of a special drop of the Jordans or whatever, so that people can flex them and buy them in that space. And that's that's human nature, eh? We want to flex, we want to show, I'm wearing Tuco because I support the brand, I support the kaupapa that they do. They're not doing it to make money, they're doing it to support the community. So that's why I'm behind it. It's that kind of idea, as well as on the other side you can flip it and make some money.
I think that there's I told, like, for me, so when Jan used to talk to me before I understood much about the space, I used to wonder too what the point of it was, or how does it work, or what is its prominence, and why is it gaining traction? And I think that what is interesting about this space is that it means something different to every single person that engages with it, which I think is particularly interesting. So you will get the people in there people who are looking for an opportunity to flip and make money potentially. You'll get art collectors. You will get people, artists like yourself, who want to sell their work, and people like me who are interested in buying it. So for me, so what I did is I bought one of your pieces, and my idea was
shout out to Chelsea for buying the number 2 Genesis piece. I was so grateful. I
didn't realize, I was like, damn, I wanted to be first, never mind. But my thoughts were to put it in as my my banner for my Twitter, or for my I said to Susan, let's put it on our website for Tuco. So there's lots of reasons why people would interact with the space. And this is we're just talking about NFTs in particular. There's quite a few people too that just enjoy being in a community. That they're quite, they're not. I mean, we're in COVID at the moment, so we can't really hard out socialize. But for people that don't have, you know, their own community or their own close whānau, it's an opportunity to actually have some contact with other people and have like, it's quite amazing. There's like people that start off as strangers and they have really genuine conversations in these discords, and then they end up, you kind of being like online friends kind of type thing, you know?
Yeah,
So
and it's centered around interests. Like we'll pull back the Jordan's kaupapa. Sneakerheads talking to other sneakerheads will be like, yeah, man, you got that Jordan. Oh my God, I've been wanting that one. I've been looking for that one. You know, and that's something you're passionate about. If you're passionate about, you know, paintbrushes, oh man, you know, you'll find other people who are keen on paintbrushes, you
absolutely,
know, whatever it is. And
like
there's
all
your
sorts.
community. Yeah, I listen to this band. So then you'll end up with this, you know. I know Timberland, the king, he's getting into NFTs, and the whole music game is going to be changed, I believe, by the NFT world, because artists, like if they are working with the NFT way of doing things, then they will no longer need to go to a big record label to fund them or to set them up, which would mean we as the fans, we as the people who buy the music, or if we bought an NFT of our favorite artist, then we become the promoters. We become the kaitautoko of that kaupapa. It's pretty mean.
I mean, like, I think Snoop Dogg's probably a good or the best example in terms of music, in terms of what he's doing in the space. So he's like quite big in the space because he's been in it for a little while. But he basically bought a piece of land in the sandbox, which is a virtual world, pretty much.
Yeah.
And basically, he's just built this big mess, like a stage, and he plans to have his virtual concerts in the sandbox. And so what you'll do is you will, you know, whatever NFT you might buy, you might put on, you know, they've got all sorts that you can get now. Like they're planning things where you can like go and buy not just headphones, but you can buy like glasses where you can actually virtually see as well. And you would go to his concert dressed as your JPEG, and you would attend his concert in your home. And
can't catch COVID there.
Oh no, exactly. And I have to be honest, like for me, hearing that, I'm just like, yeah, okay, you know, like I'm not someone that's like,
I can listen to you on my stereo
tomorrow, you know, like oh, I'd love to go to a concert where I put some headphones on and some virtual glasses and I go and listen to Snoop Dogg on a stage dressed as, I don't know, a panda bear or whatever NFT I've bought. But as much as that might seem not close to home for many of us, it is really the reality of so many, and like the gaming
right
is
now
so huge, and especially with younger people who are living online now, that's literally like that's a everyday, that there's no they don't flinch at hearing something like that, whereas for me I'm like, that sounds very odd. And
I know even the Beavers had a online, like a metaverse gig or something already.
Oh, it's very common, like in that world it's very common. And it's just a matter of time, and it's already happening. I think a lot of it is turning our minds to accepting that this is kind of what's happening, and you don't have to jump on board if you don't want to, but for those that are interested, the opportunity is there. And I guess that's kind of the point, and for many people too, is there's lots of ways to interact with the space, whether it's just you're a gamer, whether you're just learning about the space, whether, like for me, I'm someone that gets terrible FOMO when I see other people getting into something and I don't understand what's going on. I don't like that. So
you want to find out,
I just want to know what's happening, and I want to be able to engage in a conversation about it so that I understand what's happening. And so the more I hear it, the more I wanted to know, and that's basically how I've ended up where I am.
Yeah, and this is such a new space. Like as much as there's a whole lot of people in the space already, it's so new. Like in the whole wide world, it's so new. We're so early. And this is one of the things, like one of the reasons why I wanted to do these yarns and stuff is, and you know, and helping, you know, whānau and friends get into it, is most of the early adopters, that's where you're going to make the biggest gains. Like if you bought Bitcoin ages ago when it was worth $3, you know, and you bought 20 Bitcoin, now each Bitcoin is worth, what are we at? 30-something thousand, 50,000?
Yeah, we're at the lowest that it's been in a very long time.
Yeah, it's in a big dip now. It's actually on sale.
It's on
if you're in that game. But anyway, we'll leave that conversation for another one.
35 it's at the moment.
Yeah, but, you know, like if you got in early, then you would be bawling right now, you know. And I know some people that have got in early and then they're really cranking it. So I want us to be able to understand the space, learn the language, you know, interact with it safely, so that we as tangata Māori, tangata o te moana nui a Kiwa, we can make those gains, rather than kind of sitting and watching everyone else make the gains, and then like later on down the track when it's too late, or not when it's too late, but you know, you can't make as much of a gain or whatever, you know, trying to get into it, trying to FOMO in.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's interesting to the extent too that, like, I think that it's basically like, I think about my parents, for example. I tried to talk to my mum about it, and she just did not want to have one piece about it. Like, she was just like, you know,
I'm not interested.
That just sounds like a Ponzi scheme. Or to be fair to her, I have seen lots of people say that sounds like a pyramid scheme. And, you know, like, it's not for me, and, you know, or I would prefer to stay in the Bitcoin and the cryptocurrencies, and NFTs is not something that I'm interested in. Absolutely fine. Like, you know, everyone is able to interact in different components of this particular ecosystem. For me, it was just understanding what it is and how it worked, so that if the opportunity came that I did want to go further, that I could, and I had all of the things that would enable me to do that. And I think that that's probably why, you know, you'll see people that will do quite well with it, so long as they're approaching it with the tools that they need before they actually start spending money and things like that.
Yeah, and that is one thing, like, being an early adopter, learning the language and stuff, and then you can interact or you cannot, you know, if you want. I know, so with me and crypto and all of this sort of stuff, my brother, my big bro, he was talking to me about Bitcoin in 2016. So anyone that knows what happened in 2017 with Bitcoin knows that 2016 would have been an awesome time to get into it. Unfortunately, I just went, oh, this is all over my head, I can't understand, so I didn't, you know. And then now I'm looking back and going, damn, I really should have, you know, I really should have put in the effort. And, you know, in my view, this is the same, you know, like, this is where things are going. You know, this is a new language for us to learn, and want to be involved with it, and kind of want to share the learning journey with everyone else, so that anyone else that does want to get into it, you know, can.
Yeah, I think that that's really important, like, what you're trying to do, even just with these discussions, and also with like a Discord. Like, I would really encourage people that are interested to join the Discord. And, you know, come in there and ask questions, and like, I think that it's such a good opportunity to a safe space for you to kind of ask those questions that you might be too whakamā to ask in another space, because there you can join Discords and everyone is talking, and it seems like everyone's an expert. Everyone knows what they're talking about. They're using language you've never seen before. There's still like times where I'll be in a Discord and I'm like, I have no idea what that acronym is. You know, I better go and type.
What are you talking about?
Or I'll go ask my friend who's really involved in it now too. Like, well, what does that mean? You know, so there's. I just think that the Discord, for those that are listening that are wanting to get into it, would be such a great start. Because I stop in there whenever I see someone coming through and have a read, and I've seen some other people joining recently, some who have some really great experience with cryptocurrencies. If you're more interested in the coins, it's a great place to start if that's what you're wanting to do. And just to feel like a safe space for you to make your start in there. I mean, I think that we'll probably get to the point where we'll start sharing projects that we're following. In there, and so that, you know, I mean, you can scour Twitter and try and find projects, but, you know, having a group like ours, you know, we could start sharing some of the projects that we're into. I was talking to one of the bros yesterday, Phoenix, and he was like, oh, you know, what are you into? And I was talking to him about what I'm into. And those are the conversations where you start to find projects, and you're like, oh, you know what, I don't like that project, I'll leave it. You know, or, you know, that project,
I want to research that more.
And so that's where it starts. So I definitely encourage anyone that is wanting to jump on,
link in the chat,
join the Discord and come on in, because there's quite a few people in there who've been in the space, some of them probably longer than me, And we will probably start to share projects, and this is what I'm into in there, and it'll be an opportunity for you to jump in.
And also just like tips on how mechanically to do stuff. Like this is how you use a cold wallet, or here's where, you know, a good place to buy a cold wallet. So yeah, that Discord, that is the intention for, you know, tātou te moana nui a kiwa, our Pasifika whānau and our whānau Māori, to jump into the space where we can ask the questions, where we can learn from our tuakana in the space, and we can learn off each other. I know you've got another engagement to get into after this, so I kind of want to open it up. What's your last whakaaro? You know, if there's one important thing from this whole conversation. So we've talked about safety. We've talked about what's a bit of a starter pack. We've talked about how to research projects, or how you research projects, things to think about. We've digressed all over the place. We've had, you know, lots of gems, but like, what's your last thing that if you know, what's the important takeaway from this whole conversation? What's the one thing? If people walked away from this korero, one thing, what would it be?
I would probably say, don't be shy to get involved. It's not too much. I know it can feel like too much, because you're like, you know, I know that even in the space of an hour and a half, we've talked about things that might seem like so much to kind of take on, but all it really takes is to start, and to find a place to start. And that's why I would encourage joining the Discord, for example. You don't even have to interact with anyone. You could just sit in there and just watch the conversations happen. And then when you're ready, be like, oh, you know what, I might ask a question that might trigger your curiosity around a particular area. But don't feel so overwhelmed by seeing all these, like, because I know I've seen influencers messaging about it. I've seen people talking about them buying things, seeing graphs. I know you can see graphs everywhere of like the different things that are happening with the different coins. You're like, oh, it's a lot. And then you hear things like blockchain, and you hear like the little idioms that people use in this space, and it seems like a lot. So don't feel like it's a space that is not for you. If you are interested in it and you want to learn more, then definitely come into the Discord, because it's a space that is safe, and like no question is a silly question. Like when I first started out, I was asking like even things like, is MetaMask safe? Like, how do I know that MetaMask is safe?
Mine was buggy when it first started. It kind of like started with a blank page, and I was like, is this a scam?
Yes.
Like,
everything feels like a scam, you know, or, you know, you just might feel like, oh, you know what, I just don't know where to take that first step. And I definitely think probably coming into the Discord would be a good place to start, because I know too, it's really hard to find projects if you don't know where to look for them. So I say that there's influencers, but then, you know, like, who are these people? What influencers? And I could probably prattle off some names, but then that's no good to you, because, you know, one, you'd have to write them down and then go and find them, and then you could find not the person that I'm talking about.
Could be a spam account.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, for me, if you're interested, yes, there's absolutely a lot of opportunity. And when I say opportunity, I don't just mean money. I mean opportunity to engage in a space that is, in my opinion, absolutely only going to grow. And it's an opportunity to engage with artists like Rafatiroa. And Richie. It's a space to be able to connect with people that are interested in it. And then it's also an opportunity and a space to see where we're going to go in the future in regards to this whole entire crypto NFT thing. You don't have to spend money. You might just purely be in there to know where it sits within the larger space of our society, because in my view, it's starting to grow into quite a large component of our society. And so it's good to know what it is and how it works and what's happening over there. So yeah.
No, I mean, and we've got one question that I thought was pretty cool. Can you see this on the screen? Outside of art and PFPs, etc., how do you personally see NFTs as a technology changing your mahi or day-to-day life in the next 20, 30 years?
Of course, that question would
Awesome
come
question.
from Thomas, I'm sure.
Kia ora.
I don't know. I think that the thing that's interesting about it is that it's a space that's still developing and evolving. I think that just by nature, we are naturally people who, whether you know it or not, we all like to be validated. We all like to know that we belong and that we fit somewhere. And I think that naturally is what that's what the profile photo NFTs do. They make people feel like they are someone or something. And some people are more into that than others. Some people aren't into that kind of thing, and that's okay too. But I think that in terms of how it will change in the next 20 to 30 years, it will just be another avenue in which people can validate themselves and be seen by others. That's essentially what we all want as humans when it comes down to the end of the day, is just those connections, those relationships with people, and we want them to be genuine. And so I think that when we think about what is NFTs going to do to that, it's going to be a segue between me, who might have a profile photo picture of something, and you, who might have one. And it would purely be an interaction of me saying to you, oh, I like your profile photo. And that would be the start of a conversation.
Just like, I like your kicks, or oh, mean Tuco shit, like that. It's that kind of thing, It's how we identify ourselves in this space.
Yeah, exactly. And that's to me, that's the way that I interestingly see. It's really no different from people having, choosing a particular profile photo for their Facebook even today. I think an interesting component of it too is the anonymity of it as well. As much as there's that validity side of things, it's also this is kind of more going into like the social conscience of the way that the fabric of our society works, but it also has a component where people like to not be known who they are. So they can be something else, or they can interact with people in a way that takes away the things that might be, encumbering them in real life. So it's an opportunity to create something else for themselves. And that can fill a huge gap for many people too. So I think that there's the answer to that is that I don't know, but I think that it has that possibility of being so many things to different people depending on how they want to engage with the space. And I think that it's exciting to me.
Harder, really, really exciting. But also, like, it is a big thing for us to go into consciously. And even things like, we spend all of this time online on our phones and our computers. When it comes into virtual reality or AR, those sorts of things, we need to remember to also do the real world stuff. Go for a dive, go for a swim, go and have a play with someone, and sit in the same room as them. That kind of thing. We can't just go all into the space without remembering the real world stuff as well.
Yeah, I think that's really hard, and it is hard, especially when you're learning about a space, and it's obviously intriguing, or there's a lot, and so you're engaging in it because there's so much, and you want to try and get on top of things. I've definitely had moments where I feel like if I don't stay on top of it, then I'll miss an opportunity.
Miss the bus,
which I think probably, before we jump off, that is actually something that I have more recently become quite conscious of,
intentional,
to understand the psychological component of what happens in this space. So and just being aware of yourself in the space. For me, like, that's why at the beginning I was talking about being responsible for what I say, because there have absolutely been times when I've been learning about the space, and I'm so in the space that
excited
I just come away from everything, and I don't. Someone could be talking to me. Someone could be knocking on the door, and I wouldn't even know. And so there's definitely an element there where, for me, I've got to check myself and be like, hey, let's just leave it for now. There's going to be many, many more opportunities, but that FOMO component jumps in on me. That validation component jumps in on me. This could be the next big thing, and then I've lost a day, or I haven't taken care of the relationships in real life that I need to be taking care of because I haven't given them the time because I've been too focused here, So that's more a note for myself, because that's something that I've realized, that there's a psychological component with anything, but with this too, you know, you got to be, get your feet out, put your feet on the ground, and, you know,
Go
and get
and walk
out.
your dog.
And my dog that's decided to start barking.
Awesome. Well, mihi nui ana kia koe tuahine. A tāhui nei whakaro I nei kōrero. He mea nui hei whakaro, hei wānanga mā tātou. Really, really want to mihi to you for all of these thoughts, all of these experiences that you've shared with us. It is a new space and we're all learning together. And so that's what I really want, is us to learn together. And it's awesome to have tuakana like you, like Richie, like others in the space that we can kind of, oh yeah, how did you do it? Oh, cool. Maybe I might take this part or take that part. So, mihi ana kia koutou ngā kaihakarongo. All of you guys who have tuned in. There's heaps of kōrero, and I know we've gone all over the place in this hour and a half. But just take the pieces that resonate with you, sit well with you. Anything else, just leave it there. It'd be awesome if you guys carry on in the conversation in the comments. If there's other questions and stuff, we'll have a look at them later if we can answer them. Taniura, I'll answer your question later. Chabo. But yeah, if there's other kōrero, other ideas, I know a lot of you guys listening also have answers, so you know, check them in the comments, and we'll try and organize another kōrero a little bit later on. So thank you.
I'll be in the Discord. So if anyone is new and is jumping in the Discord and has any questions, I'll just jump in there and I'll answer as I'm moving around the house and preparing dinner, because I just realized it's 8:30.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, so it's time for us to go now. But yeah, jump in the Discord. I'll drop the link in the bio again, so you guys can jump in. And yeah, tēnā tātou katoa. Okay, pōmari, kia ora.